Hello and welcome back to You Up for More. I'm Jordana.
And I'm Jared, and we are here with Love is Blind Season 8 recap. And we are going to do the full recap of the pods.
First six episodes.
First 6 episodes. If you haven't watched, flag this, bookmark, save it for a rainy day. But we are going to go, this is your spoiler alert for episodes 1 through 6 of Love is Blind. What do you think? How do you feel? We're back in the pods. How do you feel about being in Minnesota for Love is Blind Season 8, Jordana?
I felt, usually like the city doesn't matter to me. It feels like interchangeable, like whatever. But it did feel quite Minnesota to me. Or I've never been to Minnesota. It felt like what I would imagine Minnesota would be like.
Well, I've been to Minnesota. Minnesota is an insular place. So unlike Atlanta, D.C., these are transplant cities. These are people move to Atlanta. People move to D.C. It is very difficult to move into Minnesota. I know this from my closest friends in the world. They live there as a married couple.
Is it the Minnesota congestion tax?
It's the congestion tax. It's the tax. No, it's a thing. It's called Minnesota Nice. You can look it up. It's like a version of Bless Your Heart. It's passive aggressive. It is. When you're in Minnesota, everyone seems to know each other from hockey, from high school. Where'd you go to school? You can feel it. And I'm saying this from experience.
Even in a city like Minneapolis.
Yes. And it's very difficult to move into that place. I would say Boston is somewhat similar, where everyone knows each other. This is a central character on the show, is the city of Minnesota. The idea that, like, they even reference in the pods, I think we know people who may have known someone. We kind of have friends in common. And I'm with you. Like, Minnesota played a part in this season. And again, it also went back to, like, I think religion played a part more this season.
Totally, yeah.
Also, like, who you know, who you don't know, where you went to school. This was all things that, like, way more familiar with each other. The accents played a part of it.
Joey, I thought I was watching the movie Fargo.
Joey felt like the mascot for Minnesota.
Yes.
Like, it was like, welcome to town, don't you know? Put on your ice, lace them up. We're gonna go to the lake and go ice fishing this weekend. Like, I can't even do the accent. It just was like, I would do it like
Very
while
particular.
I was watching. Yeah. I would like repeat words he said because he said it so differently than I knew.
Very thick accent. Another thing I noticed about the Minnesota cast is very little diversity, both like racial diversity and body diversity. I felt like everyone, and hotness diversity. I did feel like pretty much everyone was like pretty good looking.
Right. Similar Avatar in the video game. Like, if you were like, it was one player that you would like just exchange a little bit of a tan, and like a
slightly different shade of blonde hair. Right.
So to get through kind of the couples, and we're going to go through all 6 couples that were the major players during the pods. I guess we can knock out Joey and Monica. They get married, engaged within 2 episodes.
Yes. I said to Mike, like, some people it only takes a month.
I guess when you know, you know.
I guess when you know, you know. Some people take 3 years. He goes, how many times are you going to talk? Are you going to make that
How
joke?
long will I have to deal with this?
How many times are you going to make these? Like, and look at us now, happily married.
Right.
But yes, they super quick. They had a very similar energy of like, a little much to me, but like for each other it worked.
Little yellow lab.
Yes.
It did seem that the guys in the pods liked Joey a lot. Like, it seemed like he was an energy guy, that they all were he was infectious, and seemingly someone like that is like good for him. I never watch a Joey and think this is a big lie. I do think he buys what he's selling.
Yeah.
Like, Monica was like on board with him. Like, there wasn't really, it happened so quick that there was like no real chance to be like.
Yeah, there was nothing contentious at all, and it just it worked for them.
We seem to get this one every season. You watch Joey and Monica and you go, all right, don't need much from them.
Here for the right reasons. Vibe immediately, not doing anything controversial, and also don't have the chance to do anything controversial because they match up so quickly.
And this is like one of those things where your friend gives you dating advice and they go, It's the anything can happen couple where they met in
never
such an
know.
extreme way that they tell their story at the same table as someone who's like, well, it took me like 8 years to go on the dating apps. And,
Right.
these people are like, well, we met in the library. And you're like, can you just go away with your happy-go-lucky self?
Yes. They won the reality TV lottery of both finding love, coming off looking good, and will probably get a lot of Instagram followers by the end of it.
Right.
Because they'll
And
be there the whole time.
We're going to be there for the baby. We're going to see them at reunions. They're going to be brought back as this
is their career now.
This is their
Yeah.
career. They're heroes because they fell into this like very easy companionship.
Right.
And
people will root for them.
like the one thing she had is like, I don't have a job right now because I'm taking care of a grandparent. Oh, so you're a saint? Good for you. Okay.
Controversial.
So they're out. They're together. Good for them.
Yes, we'll move on.
We move on to Dave. Dave is, we think probably, Dave's going to be the memeable character.
He's the villain.
Dave is going to be
think.
villain. The edit for him. I don't like when people are like, he got bad at it. No, he got him. This is what he did. Dave, to me,
He knows he's a villain too. I think he comes on with villain energy, like almost not wanting to be necessarily, but I think he makes a lot of comments that are like, "That's going to be me."
Dave fucks chicks. That's what Dave does.
Monster.
Dave is great at meeting a woman in a bar. Dave didn't need to go on this show to find someone. He needed this show to rein him
Good-looking
in.
guy.
He says
Yes.
this. He felt that this show was
Wants to be fixed.
right. And he claims to be fixed, but doesn't talk about any therapy or anything. Like his whole bent. I mean, he comes
What is
on
this thing
going,
with
what's
it?
wrong with you? What's
Right.
wrong with you was his big line at the beginning.
It's hysterical.
Which is, I get it. Like, I get why someone goes, fuck off.
Right.
If you're insecure about, like, I went on this show because I couldn't make dating work. And I could also see how someone goes, this is the fun I'm looking for.
Right. It's a little bit like, it reminds me of on the dating apps when you'd get someone being like, why are you still here? I'd be
Right.
like, why are you still here? Like, why do we have to, well, can't we just operate under the illusion of like, we didn't have to do this?
Right. I guess because you hear the tone of his voice, I was like, that's the joke.
Right.
Like on a dating app, it would be different for me because it's like,
Fair.
why are you here? I'd be like, why are you attacking me like this?
Yeah,
Like,
and you can't just like move on. after
right.
the
What's wrong with you? I'm kidding. You know, like the way he said it, like, we'll get hate.
Sure.
But I also understood what he was doing. And I also was like, this is part of the problem that you claim to have.
Yeah.
Like you are
That is
a
who he
guy
is.
who meets chicks in bars, meets women, is really good at opening up conversations, is really good at being flirty right away. That's a flirty thing to say to someone in the pods. Hey, what's wrong with you? Because it's inherently admitting there's something wrong with him.
Yeah.
We're all, a tough,
Got
to
a
deal with.
bad boy streak. He seems like very concerned with what his sister thinks. I didn't really understand why he kept bringing into like, what is my sister gonna think? Like,
Right.
It felt like a weird, like wrench thrown into his whole vibe of like, I'm scared that my sister's not gonna like you, or my sister's
Right.
not gonna think you're good enough for me, or my sister's like why do you care so much about your sister?
To me, that's him putting up a stiff arm. That's his like, it's like when guys say like that they love being an uncle. Like I spend so much time with my nieces and nephews. To me, it's like an elevation thing. Family, my family care. I care what my family thinks. I think he's put on his sister something that gives him an out.
Okay.
To be honest,
like my sister and I don't like you.
Right. Well, what if my sister? My sister doesn't want me to be here, but I'm here anyways. It's like, dude, you're an adult.
Right.
Your sister will be okay. I think because his mom had passed. I think.
Okay.
The sister becomes a motherly figure, so that
right.
makes some sense.
Protective-ish.
I guess, and
But also, that was the part that I couldn't untangle because he's like, my mom was disappointed in me because I'm a douchebag, but also like my sister thinks no one is good enough for me. So I was
Right.
like, all right, does your family think you're great or do they think you're a piece of shit? I was like, tough for me to untangle that.
This is one of those things that goes into the Minnesota of it all, like the insular part of it. Like Dave kind of felt like he thought of himself as like some sort of like a local celebrity. Like the way he felt about himself was like
medical device sales.
nobody is more medical device sales than Dave.
Yes.
Like this is the personality type. And it's just like, it seems like a guy who knows the bars to go to, has a bunch of friends, lives a wide lifestyle and like
What's he doing here?
I really think he thought this was like the fix he needed.
The Instagram followers?
No, I never lean towards like that version of it. I like the way he explains like I was such a bad guy before I have all my problems. Like it was like I need to see like I think he signed up for the experiment of like maybe this will be the thing that gets me to like get to like being married and being a normal person in this area.
I need a cool story in order to get me to do it or something.
Cool story, or I need to see what's in the inside because I'm out here with all these women and I get attracted to the wrong people. It's always everyone else's fault. It's not that he's immature. And I think especially this area of the country, something that they're all dealing with is like people get married to their high school sweethearts. People are getting married younger than maybe they are in like a New York City.
For sure.
So like Dave is a little bit like the way he talked was like, I'm the older guy that's not married yet. Like, this is the only, instead of therapy, I'll go on a show run by Nick and Vanessa Lachey. Like, it did, because he always says that he's fixed now, but like, no talk of therapy or getting fixed or figuring it out.
Well, he looks like he's looking for like the woman to fix him. He's like, maybe I'll meet someone so great that I won't want to act without integrity, which probably means like, fucks a lot of girls.
Right.
I assume that's the what he meant.
And he's going to enrage, I am sure, he's going to enrage a lot of women because a lot of women have met a Dave at a bar, have hooked up with a Dave. This guy is like reminiscent of a lot of different guys who are out there saying the right things, being flirty, being fun. Oh, I want to get married. It's just got to be that special someone.
Right. And
that can rein me in. Dave's cock is just out there doing its own thing.
Definitely got a big, big ego. What do you think of the two options, Molly and Lauren, a teacher or former teacher, a reformed teacher?
Even the way Dave talks to Lauren, she's like, we got a tattoo. And he's like, and the tattoo is FTD or FTP. And he's like, what's that stand for? Fuck the patriarchy. And he goes, I didn't know you were a party girl. And it's like, it's like, what?
That's so funny.
Like, Dave, your response to a fuck the patriarchy tattoo is like, whoa, someone really parties. It must have been Cancun.
I don't think he knows what patriarchy means.
It's seemingly not.
He probably thought that was a bar.
I don't go there anymore either. Their happy hour's no good.
Oh my God. Lauren gave off major teacher energy. I feel like the way she looked, the way she spoke, everything about her was very teacher to me. It
is what's wrong with you getting responded to by the two different versions of who would respond to what's wrong with you. Mm-hmm. Because he has Lauren and Molly. Molly would take what's wrong with you as like, oh, that's a mountain to climb. I gotta rock that Dave Hill. And Lauren would look at what's wrong with you as like, nothing. I'm good. I'm going to prove you wrong.
Right. I can teach you.
I can teach you. Right. So like it is interesting that they represent two versions of who is brought in by that bait. Mm-hmm. Because him and Molly have this like uber sexual, uber like, you could tell like the conversation oozes sex.
Right.
Him and Lauren, the conversation oozes like we settle down. We get together. You're the teacher. I'm the medical sales. We have a lake house. It's just very like, and again, like when he makes his choice at the end, you can see Dave, and I'm giving a lot of empathy to Dave, who has a lot of people will think is a monster. I really think he thinks this can fix him.
I think he does too, because otherwise he would have picked Molly.
Right.
I think.
Molly and Lauren was the choice between old Dave and here's the new Dave.
Right. My reformed new self.
Right.
Yeah.
Which he doesn't really want to be. Like it is.
He doesn't want to be, but he thinks he should be.
Right. And I think he thinks he should be, again, not to like go on this theme of like the Minnesota insular nature of the area. Like all my friends are engaged and married and having kids and I'm the only one left. And I gotta, get to the next level. So
when that guy gets married, is that why he gets married?
I think so. Like
it's just like the timing of like this person is here, and I got to prove there's nothing wrong with me, so I'm just gonna marry the next seemingly wife material kind of person that I meet.
I totally agree. Like because Dave has shown no depth,
right?
So why would it be any more than that?
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't think Dave has shown any, like, again, even when he says I was like, I was a problem, he never even talks about what his issues were.
Or why. Yeah.
He never gets deeper than, like, I guess I've done some wrongs. Mm-hmm. He knows that they're wrong inherently, but he's not taking responsibility for that.
Yeah.
He's still coming on a show where you don't see each other and going, what's wrong with you? That's his opening fucking line.
Yeah, he hasn't changed.
So
we see you, Dave.
Dave, we see you.
I'm looking forward to seeing how that one works itself out.
Well, this is
in
the
Mexico.
disappointing part about Love is Blind sometimes. You're cheering for... I'm not cheering for Joey and Monica to make it out of the pods. I'm cheering for them to disappear and never see them again.
Right.
Like, their story is not what I watch the show for. I
Of course,
do admit.
we watch for the drama. Nothing's more boring than a happy couple.
I know, and I think there's some people that like watch for the happy couple, and that's what they must
Are they
feel that way.
Are they mentally stable?
I don't
unlike
think
us.
so. Because I look at Joey and Monica, I'm like, okay, I'll see you at the wedding. Like,
right.
I don't
Who
give
gives
a shit.
Yeah, of course.
Dave, keep a camera on Dave. Let's get a Dave cam.
Yeah, let's get a camera in all the rooms.
Right.
Bathroom.
I want a picture. I want a video of Dave on the toilet masturbating to like his
Swiping.
ex, like that he's DMing still.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to know what Dave is doing.
Good for TV.
Great for
Without
TV.
Without Dave, I feel like everything's a little bit more of a dud because there's not much to grab onto. I think,
especially leaving the pods.
Yes.
When we get to this end of this section, I'm left underwhelmed.
Same. I was like, I wish there was more drama.
Right.
I wish there was like everyone's pretty. Again, I don't know if it's a Minnesota thing. I think everyone's pretty polite.
Yeah. Well, that's the Minnesota nice,
Yeah.
passive aggressive. That's the whole. We put the ice and nice. So Minnesota nice is like we're courteous, we're polite, but then they have the ice. We put the ice and nice because it's just
because I thought it was because it's cold.
We're not going to give you we're cold as people.
Oh, okay.
We're not going to give you much. We're not going to tell you what we really think. We're going to hold the door open. Good to see you. Been to the lake this weekend?
Yeah.
And then we're going to go home and we're going to talk about how much we hate you.
Well, I get that vibe from even the people who aren't getting along. I feel like are still pretty pleasant.
Well, this was the other thing that this season had more than other seasons. If we look back to like Leo, the rich asshole from
DC?
from
Was
DC.
that DC? Yeah.
He was so outwardly a tool. Like Leo was such an outward loser, such an outward nerd, entertaining in a male way. The men here are very bland, just a taupe background. It is not.
Beige.
They're very agreeable. There's not a lot. It's tough to get something out of them.
Not a lot to grab onto as a viewer. I think about
and
them.
I think for these women, and we go to the next kind of drama. It's Meg and Mason, Madison and Alex, Madison and Mason.
The love square.
The love square. Well, I guess love triangle and Meg. I would say Alex was the winner in all of this.
Like he didn't seem to give a shit. I think that was what made him the winner.
So, I guess I ask you, what do you think of? To me, Madison hit me in a way that I was like, I fear Madison.
Okay.
Madison to me was the puppet master. She was playing all the strings. She's gorgeous. She's rocker hot. She's Gwen Stefani. She's like...
I mean, you see her in a preview. She's got pink hair.
Pink hair in the preview, and she's like the tattoos that you would never get. She's got a full-on... face tattoo going. Like she has a neck tattoo that goes all the way up her, and you're like, it looks right on her. I wouldn't have the confidence for me. She has this backstory that like, and she's an artist.
Yeah, but she's also like super well spoken and like seems like seems like an intellectual layer to her.
She lived abroad. She knows the right intellectual. I just think she knows the right words to say. She knows all the buzzy like therapy words. Mm-hmm. She, had to move out of the house at 18. I think
watched her stepfather like die or something.
The brother had a drug issue. I actually, for Madison, there were many times where I wrote down, she should not be here. She should be with like a therapist.
When did you write that down?
The way Madison was sexual with Mason and then like talked about her like relationship with God and got super serious with Alex. The way it felt to me was that Alex put himself in a position to be chased And that was like catnip to Madison. She had to like win him.
Right.
And Mason, she knew she had. So she kept him around for her own
to make sure she had multiple options. Yeah.
Right.
But for her own insecurities, but also perhaps a smart way to date.
It's a smart way to date, but it is, I think when it got to the end, and again, Mason is not innocent in this. Mason refers to Meg as his number 2. The whole time. He literally calls her his number 2. And everyone knows her as his number 2. Like they're calling her number 2.
Even Meg knows she's his number 2.
Everyone knows that. And so I don't feel good for Meg, who like kind of gets like.
Right. She was very earnest. She was very open with like her she definitely either didn't know how to or wasn't trying to play a game. I think.
Right. No, I don't think she was playing. She was so earnest. She was annoying.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the issue with the earnestness.
Right. She was like, that's my man and I'm in.
We're all going to be great girls. We're all getting engaged.
When she said that, I was like, throw her out of the pods.
And
like,
you can, but like, that's sort of why Madison's sort of like alluring. Cause you could tell when she's doing that, Madison's like, yeah, this bitch is like annoying.
Right.
Like,
right.
Like she's not even saying that though. She's not like starting with her. She's just kind of like watching.
Yeah.
Observing,
to
plotting.
Me, she was like a tiger, like ready to pounce. And her voice, super sensual. Like she had the voice.
She had a good voice.
Like I'm sitting there going, Alex, run away. Run away from this woman. She is, and then he's saying, I can't, I don't know if I can be there for you. Like with like, you're bringing up a lot of stuff. Like, and then she's like, to say she disassociates because she has childhood trauma.
She's an avoidant.
She's an avoidant. But like, these are things that I'm like, these are serious issues. Like, I don't even feel myself in my body. I'd be like, I don't know how I could help that.
Well,
like,
she's very open.
That's the thing where like just because you're open, means that like everyone like I kind of thought like Alex was in a no-win position. Like just because you're open, like, and he's like,
but he's still into it. He could have said no.
He's dating her. He's figuring it out. I mean, he does say no.
At the end.
Well, at the end.
Well, at the end he says no, but not because of any of that stuff. I actually thought at the end, and I mean we can get into their last fight. We probably should talk about the fight that Madison has with Mason first.
Right. Well,
right, yeah.
Well, they both go together. Yeah. I think the Madison-Mason fight, for her to get mad at him.
He said he was going to pick her, and then the next morning he said he took it back when she was like, when she said she wasn't into it.
Right.
Which is not right.
Well,
I could see being annoyed by that. It's like he did the thing to protect his ego, which is like, oh, I didn't mean that. I actually, like, once he realized he like fucked up by saying that Meg was his number 2 the entire time, and then that was all that was left for him.
Right.
Then he backtracked, much like Leo did last season.
No, he did a very similar move to Leo, the backtrack. I agree with the backtrack.
Not as annoying and aggressively as Leo did.
No.
Where he was like begging for it. That was like awkward.
Right.
But he still tried to do that backtrack thing, which I agree is annoying.
But she was saying he was the number 2 in similar terms to how he was saying she was the that Meg was the number 2. Like, I think she's better at saying it. Like, I think like,
well, she didn't tell the other guy that she was committed.
But she also went back and told everyone, like, she went back to the pods and like didn't let anyone have their own journey other than her. Like, she went back and like, tells Meg like before he even has a chance to go to her. Like, it felt like she just was in control of this whole thing.
Yeah, she's manipulative. I'll give you that.
Yeah, like I just like it never felt like she wasn't playing dirty. Like she knew she liked Alex and kept the other guy along. Like,
yeah, but what did the other guy do to Meg? That's sort of the whole point of the thing, though, is to like explore your connections.
Right, but that's the thing. You're getting mad at him for doing exactly what you're doing.
But she didn't get mad at him for having a second option. She got mad at him for telling her that she was. She didn't get mad until he tried to retract his statement the next morning when she was breaking up with him.
He pulled back from something she never even wanted. Like,
that's the manipulative part, but it doesn't change the fact that he like did this seemingly ego-serving pullback. I could still think that's annoying.
Well, you could also go like, hey,
it's kind of immature.
It's immature. I could see immature, but like, I guess it's a choice between immature and manipulative. Like I just see when she's like getting mad at him and he's like, I'm pulling back because I'm not getting anything back. I've rethought about, I could understand rethinking about like, I'm getting nothing from this person. I'm trying to pull blood from a stone. And I now know she's picked someone else. Like, let me think about this and like try and explore and again, they're all doing this. Like, it felt like this was all happening. Like, they're like, you got 2 days left.
Right.
Like, it felt like the clock was
Crunch
ticking.
time, yeah.
And it was, so again, like, that's why it made a lot of sense for Alex, who's still trying to decide. And he's like, tick, 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 tick.
Right. He never really was telling her he was into her.
And I think that's
and
why
she loved it.
She loved it.
Yes.
And
she had to win him. I totally agree with that. But I also think that when he breaks up with her, maybe he's lying and saying it's about communication. I don't think her communication was bad.
No, I think she communicated.
I think that was like, he kept saying like, I can't be with someone who's like not communicating with me or or I'm fighting with. And I thought that she like explained why she was mad, why she was annoyed at him quite well. I do think it's annoying if the person that you're like, your boyfriend is like he seemed like very intent on defending the guy who annoyed her, which is like, he didn't need to do that. He like wouldn't let it go.
It was interesting that he wouldn't let it go. And I was like, why does he keep coming back to this? And I think to me, Alex was playing detective. I think he heard, she's a great communicator. I think he heard everything she had to say. I think everyone has baggage. We talk about it on the podcast all the time. It's how you hold the baggage.
Right. How you've dealt with it.
Right. And the way Madison held the baggage was in a way that was like, if I was listening and didn't see what she looked like, which her looks play a huge part in this. And she even says, she's like, I get dated by people who just want my looks and then they have to deal with me. And you're like,
she's honest. She's communicating.
Right. And if I'm Alex on the other side of that, I'm like, I know she's hot. This voice is crushing me right now. But she's literally telling me, like, there are really big issues here that we're going to have to tackle together. And now I have this thing where she's like really mad at a guy that like, I like him.
Right.
He's mild-mannered. She's not saying he yelled at her. She's just saying that, like...
She wasn't, like, freaking out, though. She was just like, this was annoying to me.
Right. I think he was playing, like...
I think he wanted to get out of that, and he used the communication thing as... What he really should have said, I mean, if he was being honest, which he wouldn't say, is like, you have too much baggage for me. I don't know what I'm getting with you, and, like, I don't want to have to, like, deal with, like, your potential crazy side.
Right. Well, this is a theme on Love is Blind where like, how honest can you be? I think there's an awareness on this show that you're going to get crushed. Other than Dave, who doesn't seem to like know that like cameras are watching him. But I think like we see this every season where someone just like backs out politely.
All right, so let's discuss the attachment style conversation that they have.
So he says that he's what?
Anxious, and that he's like, "What's your attachment style?" Mm-hmm. And she's like, "I'm quite avoidant. I like, I tend to, if I feel like I'm not being treated right, I back out or I leave the situation." And then he gets nervous about that being. He's like, he needs time to think about that answer.
And then he goes back, and like, then they come back and become boyfriend girlfriend, and he's like decided on her even though they had this like bad moment. Right.
So he's got like some reservations, and he also his past of like being he seems to be very sensitive. He says this a lot. He was bullied, and he's very sensitive to other people being left out. Or maybe being mistreated. Maybe that's like a particular sensitivity of him, not just for himself, but for others.
Right. But I think that has to do with
that's a kind of a self-serving, my negative quality is that I care too much about others.
But that kind of goes back to the Mason thing where he like felt that this guy was getting a unfair rub to what he's sensitive to. Like he's like,
clearly has a big fairness complex.
Right. Yeah. And I do think, to me, he's using all of these things to give himself time. Like, it felt like Alex was trying to buy time to see what is up with this chick. Again, he would have been better off pulling a Dave and being like, what's wrong with you?
Right.
Because I do think Madison is holding baggage, but she was so calculated in how it came out and the way she said it, and very much puts barriers around it with like, I disassociate. You know, those are things that you can't say anything negative to. Like, you can't go, I can't handle that shit.
Well, that's kind of what he did.
By the end.
Right.
Sorry, you didn't communicate it right. The clock is over. I got to go.
Yeah.
So he ends up being not the bad guy. And I think that is in turn not being honest. Like, I think.
Right. That's because again, he says communication, and I think she communicated quite well. She said very clearly why she was angry at him, and I think that her response made her look, again, whether it's an act and she's manipulative or not, made her look better. Where she was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to tell you that I'm never going to fight with you, or that I'm never going to like need 5 minutes to like think about something."
Right. Something tasted off about her. Like, when you say, like, I'm never going to not fight with you. Yeah, of course we're going to fight. Like, you know, it felt like the person who takes moral hierarchy to, like, get you to shut up about. Like, I'll say this. Like, in my past relationships, I'd be like, if I got in an argument with someone, I would be like, we don't have a house together. We have no kids. There's nothing for us to fight about. Like, that's a douchey thing to do to someone, because you're taking...
You're invalidating...
anything below house and children.
Right, as something you can be upset about.
Right. So she kind of does that version a little bit with, like, all the things she's going through. And it's like, you're talking about all these things, and, like, I'm still...
I mean, what's her other option, though, to not bring any of that stuff up?
No, I guess not go on the show. Like, you know, there's a point where you go... Again, like, I sound bad now.
I would have
like,
wanted to see more of her. I was like a little upset she wasn't going to.
I definitely wanted more.
Phase.
Well, that was the thing. That's the big letdown is she gets dumped by Alex. She dumps Mason. Mason gets dumped by Meg.
Which I was surprised.
Good for Meg.
Yeah, I was like, wow, Meg, I didn't think you had it in you.
Meg was like very reminiscent of the blonde girl from Seattle. Do we know who I'm
Meg
talking
Ryan?
about? No. Chelsea. Okay. She did like a boudoir photo shoot for their engagement where they're like shirtless. It was like bizarre.
Oh, wow.
But she kind of had the same energy as Meg, where like it was like, I'm here for the things. I'm here for the wedding, for the payback from friends for a bachelorette party. And for her to be like, and again, I do think Meg was influenced by Madison getting involved.
Of course. The
judgment of like, well, you can do whatever you want.
Guy?
Right.
Yeah. No, I think she was, but also, I mean,
I didn't think Madison played fair with the other women.
That's fair, but she didn't say anything that wasn't true.
But that's where I don't trust her, and that's where I go, Alex, get out of here.
Well, he did.
I
he
agree,
hurt you.
But like, this is again, to go back to the moral superiority. She never says anything that's not true that you could argue with in an umbrella way. Mm-hmm. Like, Madison made me like
scared.
Like, I think any man she could literally drain the blood and financial ability from any man's soul.
Girls.
I'm probably not fair of me to say, but I
respected it.
I get it. I get why women respect her, because she does have a confidence. She has an air about her.
Right.
She can wear anything she wants. She's like a mannequin at a Hollister. Like, it is like, I get the Madison everything.
Yeah.
She scares the living shit out of me.
I think that's so interesting.
Because I've been texting you to go, have you watched? And I was so interested to hear your Madison opinion.
The way we would think of like, because when I see Dave and these women, I'm like, run.
Right.
So it's almost like she's like the female, like what the female version of that in terms of like, this is what women are afraid of, as a guy who's like telling you nice things, but actually like hooking up with a million people behind like, on the side or doing whatever. And I think what men it sounds like what I'm hearing is that men's biggest fear is a woman who is like playing him mentally to trap him into something committed with a crazy person.
Right. Yeah. I think that is a real fear.
Yeah.
Whether it's not fair, but I'm watching her and I'm just like, like, and she's absolutely fucking gorgeous. Like you can't.
Doesn't hurt.
I think it helps the whole thing. In a way, men and women would both like, we'd shake, the handshake emoji.
Yeah.
Like men and women would both go,
agree.
That woman.
She definitely has a lot of sex appeal.
My God. So.
But Meg
has the opposite of sex appeal. Meg.
Really? I thought she was pretty.
She's pretty.
Yeah.
But she doesn't have that like thing I fear. I fear nothing.
She doesn't have the charm.
No.
For sure. Like
Meg's
the subtle
a bull
charm.
in a china shop.
Right.
We're all getting married.
Madison's from like a thriller, from like a girl on the
Right.
train or something.
Absolutely.
Right, which is like kind of cool. Like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. You're like, what's she gonna do next?
Right.
Murder your whole family, or like have wildly great sex with you?
Everything's
All
on the
of it.
table.
All of it.
I was excited to talk to you about Madison because I was like, I don't know how to explain it.
I was kind of into it.
Listen,
I don't know. I respected the game.
she to me was like Cruel Intentions. Like she's the Sarah
Right.
Michelle Gellar.
Right. Well, I mean, she could have not that
Madison
good.
is Sarah Michelle Gellar.
The thing is, though, she's not that good at it because she didn't lock it in.
I think Alex escaped by the hairs of his chin. Like I think Alex escaped in a way that is like he should be praying to whatever God he prays to. Like, do you think Alex and Madison would have had a great marriage?
Absolutely not.
I want to watch them. I agree with you.
I don't think it would. Yeah, I don't think it would have worked out. But I think he has his issues too.
Alex?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Alex is like small town.
Yeah.
Minnesota.
Well, that's why he's getting eaten alive by her. She needs to move to New York.
She could move to New York and have a 7-bedroom penthouse that some guy is paying for within 7 minutes of getting
And they're just making naked art together.
He's not even allowed to come.
I see it. But Meg, I was like, I really thought she was going to go for it. And then
I did too.
she said something and it was very true. She was like, and maybe Madison got in her head, but she was also like, I can't go into this knowing that I was the number 2. I'm like, that you're only here by default.
Right.
And I know that.
Some would say Madison saved her. Some would say Madison didn't allow her to have her story. Mm-hmm. I think both would be true.
Fair.
Because the way Madison operated in the woman's area, it didn't taste right to me either. So it did feel like she was playing 2 games. Like her on this show was reminiscent of Survivor. And,
Yeah, she has game.
right.
That's why I respect
and
it.
Meg on this show was reminiscent of The Bachelor.
Yes, they're on 2 different shows. They're
on
playing 2 different games.
So
do I think that she's very smart? Yes. Do I think
she's smart, she's beautiful, she's fun,
She's
artistic.
insightful?
I love you. I love you, Madison.
would
Please.
you? All this being said, would you date her?
Of course. I would give her my hate. I would give her everything.
Wouldn't she be a worthy adversary for you?
I don't know. I think she would
Ruin your life?
ruin my life 17 times.
I don't know. I think she'd be.
You'd be like, how's it going with Madison? I'd be like, we've been dating for 6 months,
I've tried to marry her 4 times.
and we haven't had sex yet. She won't let me.
I proposed. I don't know what else to do.
I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
So, well, this is the fun part about this show.
Yeah.
We are taping this. We have gotten screeners. I love that we get to form our own opinions without hearing what like the peasants think. Like the
Right.
the
We
internet.
could be totally against the internet grain. We'll see.
Right. And I'm excited to find out. Like because I'm excited to find out what the people say. Like even the contestants, they're gonna have their opinion that they'll be putting out there. So let's move on. The other couples will move pretty quick. I think we
Yes.
should go to Ben and Sarah.
Yes.
Ben and Sarah, I thought they were interesting.
Yeah.
Slow burn. I think Ben and Sarah are both good-looking people. They look like they could be brother and sister.
Yeah. Very well matched, like attractive wise.
Totally. But you had this thing of Ben, and I thought it was so interesting. This is when politics and,
Yes.
and the social arena kind of like came into play. She's like, who did you vote for? And gets into politics and stuff. And Ben just has this very like, again, this is when
Minnesota nice answer.
Minnesota
Yeah.
nice, like,
Well, she's like, well, what do you think of LGBTQ?
Right.
And he's like, I'm like all for, everything equal, whatever. And then she's like, well, like, what are you going to go to the parade? Like, she's like trying to like, I'm like, I like, what do you think he's going to go to the parade?
I think Ben has never had to like have any of those conversations.
Right.
And he lives in a very like easy and again, like I don't
He's
think
trying to be like polite, I think. But I don't,
polite-
and I think that he's not strongly opinionated in any way.
this isn't Ben being manipulative or I don't think he's hiding much.
No.
I think this is how much he's thought of it.
Right.
Like
and he said that.
Right. And
Yeah.
I believed him. And I actually think like this show sometimes like becomes this like mirror to the world. Like people get so mad at someone like Ben who like is like, yeah, I guess that's going on.
Yeah.
You go, I don't know what you want from this guy. Like
Well, it was interesting because she was like, it's like she's doing the thing that also people yell out on the other side too, where she's like asking him to virtue signal. She's like, tell me that you're like, that you believe, and then she's like, not even like what your political party is. Tell me all that, like you are a decent human being who cares about everyone being like and
Right.
what's he gonna say? Like, actually, I don't believe in inequality or like she's like stating it in a way
Right.
that like there's only one answer.
I thought Ben was more likable than her in this whole conversation.
I
Like,
agree because she's asking him to virtue signal and he's saying like, all I can tell you is that like you're gonna see from my actions that I'm like a good person.
right. And Ben does and he does these things that really drive people crazy. He's like, I love, I go to the church and I have my own relationship with God.
Right.
And which is a very like convenient answer for these times. Like, and especially convenient because what's Sarah going to say? Like, he's like, I have moved a little bit towards the center. Like he's letting her know, like when I have friends that were,
I met more people when I went to college.
right. He said, and generally that's how much people end up moving.
Right.
Like whether you want to like buy that or not, like people are cruise ships, not speedboats generally. Like they turn little by little. And like Ben is showing, that's why I think they end up together in the end. Like this, what's she going to say?
Right. I think she almost needed him to like say he was more liberal than he was so that she could like feel okay bringing him home.
Right. And it to me, it was a little bit, fake of her.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
I was like, she needed him to like, I think she's probably talked a big liberal game
Right.
at home and she couldn't come home with someone that if she came home with someone sort of more in the center or little bit to the right, I think she was worried. And this is true of people and their political beliefs in general. It's like people like what their political beliefs say about them more than they even like their political beliefs.
Right. And it seemed like, Sarah, that's where she's going to have people cheering her on. But then like she does what Sarah needs to do and gets her guy.
Right.
So
Yeah, she
Do
doesn't.
you
She's
really
not
care?
like right.
You know,
she's
like-
not marrying him.
right. So like if these things were that important to you, you were put, cash your check.
Right.
And she didn't. So it is an interesting. I thought
I like them overall though.
I like
Yeah.
them. I thought when
He
they
was
got
so
together,
into her. Yeah.
so into her.
I was like,
She's
I was like happy for him. He was like,
and she's gorgeous. She's
Yeah.
like a whole milk drinking woman.
what is that?
Like she's like, no, just thick and good. Like I was like, she's sexy. Like
You were into her.
Oh my god, she just looked good in the dress. She's tall. She was very Minnesota to me.
Yeah.
Like
I could see that.
Yeah. So I
You were into it.
totally into it.
I
Totally
thought
into
he
the
was really
couple.
cute too.
He's a good looking
Yeah.
dude. Way better looking in like.
He looked like he was in like a teen like drama like movie. Do you know what
Right.
I mean? Like the lead in like a Walk to Remember or something.
Yes. Yeah, they look good together. So now we have Virginia, Devon, and Britney.
Yes. The most polite love triangle that's ever existed. Again.
Literally. Like Devon and Britney have this basketball thing. He's a coach. He's played. They have this thing. And they do seemingly... And
He's younger than them, too. He's like 5 or 6 years. He's 28, and I remember this from the beginning. And Britney's 34, and Virginia's 33.
Yeah, and none of them rang 30s. Like, Virginia and Britney, didn't show 30 to me. Like
Yeah, it
they were
didn't
looking,
seem like they were that much
It didn't seem
older,
like
but it did,
such
they
a
did,
crazy match.
Right.
It didn't seem like Jessica 32.
Jessica 34, Mark 24.
Yeah, it wasn't that.
Yeah.
But I would say the part where Devon and Britney kind of fall off is Britney mentions that she had a relationship with a woman.
Right.
And that hits Devon in a certain way. And they kind of come back together, and it kind of like, it felt like the dynamic went from like, we're seeing what this is to friends.
Right. But it was like both people, no one was offended by it, which felt like rare.
Yes.
Do you know
rare.
what I mean?
There was, the drama was very little. I did think Virginia was like, you know, the way she kind of operated. She had some lines in there where she's like, yeah, if you want to play basketball, go ahead. Like, you know, she was like not trying to be something she wasn't.
Yeah,
and I liked Virginia.
I liked them both. I thought they were both like cool. I don't know.
I think the Devon thing with Britney, when you find out someone's been with a woman and that like affects you in that way, this must be a bigger thing to you.
For sure.
Because that wouldn't, if I heard that like someone I was dated a woman, I don't know if that doesn't really change the way Britney explained
You're feeling about it, right?
No, the way Britney explained it, I was like, yeah, I could totally see that being the case.
That's why it felt like almost like maybe there's more of like a religion, politic thing underlying that wasn't like said, but kind of like an undertone feeling where he was like, maybe this person's better off as my friend. I don't know if like it feels maybe like too far from what I'm used to feel. And that's the thing people say that sounds icky when you say it, or when but I think a lot of people think that about a lot of things.
Right.
Like
this represents
I'm
how
not like,
different we are.
I'm not like against this or like anti this, but being with someone who's like this just feels like a little too far from whatever my sensibility is.
I totally agree. This was another instance where Devon saw Virginia and was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like he was like,
well, she's beautiful. Yeah.
Like you could tell he was like,
I actually thought she was a lot more attractive than him.
She's unbelievable. Yeah.
In terms of like, I thought most of the couples were well matched. I thought she was like, this one was
beautiful.
Yeah.
Our last couple, Daniel and Taylor, which was Taylor the one that sounded like she smoked 1,000 cigarettes before starting the show?
She lost her voice.
She had a party girl voice. Yeah. It was like someone went to Cancun before coming on the show. Like it was like that voice. It like brought me back to college.
Yeah,
you know, like you always had that girl in your life
smoking too much pot.
Just got hammered and like that week. Hey, yeah, no, it was a fun weekend.
Sounds pretty cool, but also sounds a little like strung out. Yeah,
right. She had that vibe to her a little bit. She's a nurse. I liked Taylor. Mm-hmm. Daniel had no real.
Kept talking about how he was 5'8". That was like
5'8"
literally like that was the only thing because again they all look kind of similar. So every time someone would pop up, I'd be like, Mike, is that the 5'8" one?
Right.
Is that the 5'8" one or the?
Here's the pro.
He made that his personality.
Right. And here's the thing: as a guy who's 5'8" and a half. I just was like, dude, like the more you talk about it, the worse you make this. Yeah. Like, I don't think honestly, like now I'm going to sound offensive. I don't mean to sound offensive. I've never had like a height thing. Like I've never thought of myself.
Why is that offensive? I think that's a good thing.
Right. That's not where my insecurities
here's the other part of it, I think, is also maybe like, I was thinking maybe like in New York, there's more people who are 5'8".
Right, maybe this is a Minnesota thing.
Minnesota, I would imagine they're like bigger people.
They're all Vikings.
I don't know, right? Like they're not like.
It is funny because the more he said, I'm like, stop trying to like bring me in to your insecurities. I was like, I'm fine.
Or even like I was with Mike and he was like, why does he get like that's not like so short. It's not like he's like 5'2". Like that would I could see that more as a thing.
And he kept calling it Short King. This is what got me so annoyed by Short King. But no one said what the height was.
Right.
Like, so it's like you couldn't be like, well, it's not, these short kings, and someone be like, you're a short king. You'd be like, well, hold on, like I'm 5'8", like I'm fine.
Right.
Like it always made you sound defensive.
Totally.
Like he's now included us. Like I'm like, and then if you're like even more defensive, you go, well, look at what's the average in America. Like it's like, you'd sound bad. He's like he's
labeled him right. He's done what you're not supposed to do.
Right. And he's made a negative out of nothing.
Right.
And I'm with you. I forgot that was his whole thing.
And they were like the same height when they came out.
Well, then they go to see each other, and I'm like, I'm literally, that's all I could look for.
I was like, is she gonna be looking down? Like,
right.
They were like the same height.
And she's like, maybe I won't wear heels. It's like, you were wearing heels, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, we have made a mountain out of a molehill.
Agreed.
Like, that's so funny. We're like, when they got matched, I was like, let's see how this height thing works out. And I was like, I guess we're good.
Right. Unless we're not good, though, because the last scene of the show was, I thought, like, the best part. It was like, I was like, they really made us work for this.
Right. Lot of
drama.
Pods
I've been
episodes.
waiting for this drama. Like, where is this drama? And then we have the morning after they meet each other in person.
The engagement.
Yes.
Yeah, the proposal.
And Taylor says, you knew you looked familiar. You seem familiar to me. And then she basically says that, like, she places him as someone who followed her. He requested to follow her, like, a few months ago and then unfollowed her. And she recognized him from his pictures. And so she confronts him about, did you know what I look like this whole time? And my Instagram says that I love Christmas and
all the facts are
all
there
the
that
facts,
you
right,
manipulated into getting me to like you.
Yes.
And I thought it was interesting. And this is like back to the You Up podcast. You know, let's look at it from that angle of like, what are people dealing with in dating? And it's like, it is interesting because we're not sure what happens next. We don't know if did he follow, did he not? Does he have remorse? Will he admit it? Was it a big lie the whole time? We don't know. But we know that all the men are sitting there being like, I just hope I meet this magical woman that will turn me around. And then the women are dealing with like the 7-sided die of like, did you just do all this to get in my pants?
Right.
And it's like the idea that he would go and lock himself away for 3 weeks to like, and remember, the Christmas. Okay, that's how I'll get her so that I go to the next level of this show. I want to be able to go on the trip, you know, like,
or even just sleep with her. Yeah.
Right. At a minimum, you know, you go, man, this is like
Is that not a possibility?
It is. I'm just saying, like, it's like, like, I do think
my thought was
women
like,
are on the lookout for is way more, there's a lot more to deal with in dating.
Well, we're also thinking about things more.
Right.
I think we're going 7 layers deep, and I think you guys are like we're on like level 9, and you guys are on level like 2.
He's like, we both like Christmas. We're meant to be.
Yes.
And she's like, well, did he follow? Did he unfollow?
Well, I thought there was
this. Did he manipulate me? Yeah.
I did think there was another option on my end, which was like maybe she did see him and she wasn't into him. And then this was a way for her to not seem like, and again, I don't know what happens. We don't know what happens after how the rest of the conversation finishes. But there was a thought like maybe she wants to get out of this and not be the bad guy, and she can make him into the bad guy as like if she wanted out, this would be a way to make her seem less villainous, because I think people would say, oh, that's understandable. He lied. Also, I thought it was interesting when she says this to him and then he's like quiet for like a bit. I don't know what the edit is, but I was like, in my mind, he's like, he's debating mentally whether or not to lie.
Right.
Like that quiet is him like in his head. Should I come clean or should I just like deny till you die?
Can I get away with this?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, a very interesting ending. Are we enjoying? What do we think?
Yes. I was hooked with the cliffhanger. I'm excited to watch more.
Well, it's nice to have a couple that didn't matter before now matter.
Yes.
Like Daniel.
Always
and
refreshing.
Taylor. Always
I was very disappointed that there was going to be no love square. None of them.
Right.
That
Especially
none of them made
to miss
it.
out on Madison in a bikini and wherever they were going.
She'll be back with her pink hair.
Yeah,
I'm sure to throw a wrench in some things.
Hopefully. Yeah, but we still have Dave and Lauren, and we have, there'll be some, there has to be drama or else.
Of course.
What are we doing?
This is the good stuff. We're about to get into the good stuff. We'll be back.
If you enjoyed today's recap of the pods, share with a friend who's also watching the show. Subscribe to our channel because we love a subscription. And if you enjoyed this type of conversation, the male-female angle on things, we do a podcast called the You Up Podcast. It is twice a week. You can go back and look at episodes on YouTube here, and you can see all the great things we talk about. We take listener emails, we take voicemails, we go through awkward situations, we play red flag or deal breaker. So get involved with this channel so that you can enjoy more of our great show. So we'll be back with the next clump of episodes.
Bye. You Up is produced by Kate McAuliffe and edited by Emily Freed. Social media by Candice Maniga. Our associate producer is Will Maxwell. Additional production help from Shannon Jimenez Sassone.